Previously, while Andrew was watching The Walking Dead.
I swear on my sack, I will.
Wow, even Santa doesn't do that. Hit the button. Let's get started. Hey there, hi there, ho there, Andrew here, the horror host of Generations X, Y, and Z inside Davis Manor, and I've got a lot to say about The Walking Dead's episode 14 of season 8, which is known as Still Gotta Mean Something. Not really. But I have to say, this episode is all over the place, and logic is not found anywhere, unfortunately. Instead of laying everything all up front here in this video, I'm going to go ahead and explain it as the episode goes on. So, before we begin on that, I'd like to go ahead and thank all the patrons of the channel. If you want to have direct access to me via Patreon and email, if you want to have a part of the creative process on this channel by coming up with movies to watch, or even having a say in things like the creation of Walker Wednesdays, which is now a thing on this channel, then check out the link above. With a pledge, you can earn different merchandise, plus a whole bunch of other rewards. So check out the future goals that I got going on the Patreon page, and I know that I want you to be part of the show, so make sure you give it a look-see, check it out. But right now, kick on the projector, baby. We're gonna go dive deep into this episode. Oh, good. We start off with a flashback. Haven't seen enough of those in the season so far. Anything good come from this? Well, Savior Gary has gotten a chance to do what many of us would like to do on this show, so color me jealous. But now, back in Jadis' domicile, we have seen that IKEA has survived the zombie apocalypse, and good for them. Then we see her drag Negan out on a dolly where he is bound up, and a whole bunch of pent-up Jeffrey Dean Morgan fans' ovaries cry out in unison. Men and women. Ezekiel tries to convince Carol to go out and look for Portrait of a Serial Killer Henry, and she decides to keep on cutting firewood instead. Ezekiel leaves, but not before saying in fancy talk that Carol is a coward. Whoa, no. She blew up Terminus on her own. Coward would be the last word that I would describe Carol, Mr. Fancy Pants. Personally, I would rather be doing chores myself than look for that little psycho. But I bring this up because I'm going to talk about it later. Then we get a chance to see Tara talk to Daryl and says that she isn't sick and it must have been a clean arrow, which is exactly what I had said happened. Then Michonne tells Rick to read the letter that Carl wrote him. This guy hasn't read the letter yet from his son. I don't care how much you're mourning from your son. You should have read the letter by now, unless you know what is in the letter because you've read Negan's letter and you just don't want to read it. You know, because you got this personal vendetta and you want to go and kill everybody, you sick freak. And anyways, does anybody notice that Rick looks a lot like Ulysses S. Grant right now? Morgan then tells Carol that he's going to go look for Henry, but that is a lie. He's not going to go and do that. He wants to go and kill people. And Carol goes because she's worried about Morgan. And rightfully so. He's only on the show for another couple of episodes. And now, let's just go fast forward through some of this, about 15 minutes into the show, so we can get to Jadis and Negan. And this is the takeaway of that encounter. Jadis, while looking at her watch, for a delivery maybe? Who knows? She plans on torturing Negan by burning his bat and then sicking a walker on him. But Negan goes and gets a chance to talk to Jadis a bit. And when she leaves for a moment because her watch beeps, he goes ahead and kind of wheels himself away to go and get a gun and a flare. And in the strangest of standoffs that I think I have ever seen, Jadis and Negan find mutual ground in the fact that they have something sentimental that holds on to their humanity. Her pictures and his bat. Also, in a weird scene, a helicopter comes and Jadis is unable to get their attention with a second flare. This blows Negan's mind, seeing an operational helicopter at the trash heap. Negan tells Jadis that he will make things right because what happened at the trash heap is not what he wanted to have happen. I mean, he doesn't say the fact that he ordered only one person to be killed instead of everybody else. He left that convenient tidbit out. But hey, Jadis lets him go. And Negan is hoping that Jadis opens up about that whole helicopter thing. Personally, I think she's a plant of sorts. She's expecting that. Maybe it's military. Maybe it's the Commonwealth. Maybe Georgie is up there flying around the helicopter. Who knows? In other news, Carol and Morgan go their separate ways because Carol needs to know if Henry is really dead or not. Morgan, not so much. He just wants to kill people. This means that Rick catches up with Morgan in the woods, and Morgan says,
I'm not right.
Yeah, that is due to bad writing. Rick and Morgan decide to team up and kill the escaped saviors, only to be knocked out and held prisoner in a nearby bar. Rick overhears the saviors argue between each other on what to do, and all but Jared want to go back to Hilltop because they are not wanted at the sanctuary. Truth be told, if they went back to the sanctuary, they would no longer be savior level. I mean, they'd probably be one of the citizens at best. And Jared feels that if they give Rick back to Negan, that would just take care of everything. Rick overhears all of this and tells them that they can come back and integrate with the Hilltop, just like that ex-savior that I hate so much named Alden is doing. Morgan has other words.
I came here to do what I was supposed to kill every last one of you.
You gotta love Morgan's truthfulness in that. So, a herd of walkers that Carol and Morgan had seen when they were talking with each other have made their way to this bar building area that they are at. So, with that coming on, the repentant saviors go ahead and free Rick and Morgan so everybody can get in full walker killing mode. Heck, a savior even kills a walker saving Rick. But then Rick and Morgan start killing the saviors in the middle of killing walkers. And why would you even do that? Why wouldn't you wait? The element of surprise? I mean, you got a herd of walkers. Wait until the threat is done. And this isn't the only time that Rick has done that, by the way. Does anybody remember back in the prison when Rick went all crazy killing the prisoners too? Rick must have something against prisoners. Maybe it's because he's a cop. I don't know. Where am I going with this? What's Morgan doing?
He went to Jared.
He went to Jared.
So yeah, Morgan pursues Jared, which eventually puts Jared behind a gate, and Morgan watches him become Walker Chow. And then a lone, wounded, yet alive savior tells Rick that Rick said that he wasn't going to harm them. And Rick then says he lied and kills the last escapee. So after it's all said and done, Rick asks Morgan, why did Morgan save him back in the beginning? You know, when they were strangers. And when I say back in the beginning, I mean like the first episode. Not that Rick says the first episode, because that would be really meta for some reason. But Morgan says it is because his son was with him. His son, as in Morgan's son, not as in Carl, because Carl wasn't there. You know this already. You've seen the first episode. Anyways, that makes Morgan sound like a cold-blooded killer. Sort of. I don't know about that. Personally, I have a different take on this, and I might be getting into it a little bit too much. See, Morgan said that he didn't kill Rick because of his son. His son made him decide to choose life over death. Just read your kid's letter already, Rick. I mean, you're turning into the villain of the show. And the villain of the show has more empathy than you do. But more on that in a moment. This episode wraps up with Carol finding Henry alive and not a walker. Come on! And they return to Hilltop, where it looks like Ezekiel's just sitting around on his duff the whole time. You know, the guy that told Carol that she was a coward, and he just goes and sits on his throne, the jerk. And Henry, he's happy to see the king, even though Morgan tells Henry that he killed the killer of Benjamin. Some thanks would be nice, but the little psycho just says he's sorry, and that's it. What? Carol then has a meaningful conversation with Ezekiel about how she lost herself when her daughter died, but she became a better person because of Rick's group. What are you telling Ezekiel that for? That's just falling on deaf ears. That's supposed to be a conversation you're having with Morgan. You know, the guy that's losing his crap over on the log crying right now. He's the guy that lost a child. He's the one that desperately needs to put himself together. I'm happy that this guy is getting off the show. Everybody here is nuts. But speaking of nuts, I have to say that Lenny James is really knocking it out of the park with his acting here. I mean, Morgan is apparently the only person in the world that is suffering from PTSD right now. You would think that PTSD would be running rampant through the zombie apocalypse. Why on this show have we only seen Rick and Morgan completely lose their mental stuffing? There's no other person that has gotten the crazies yet? I mean, yeah, they've gotten depressed, and we've seen other people cry out, but not like full bonkers. I mean, just the actors can't do crazy? I feel like I'm doing a great job, but speaking of crazy, let's get back to the crazies. Negan has gone back into full Negan mode, which we all now know is an act. And he picks up somebody on the side of the road when it's supposed to be a surprise, but we all know who it is. And he gets back to the sanctuary and tells everyone to keep it on the D-Lo that he's back. And the other crazies, Daryl and Rosita, plan on killing Eugene. Do it already! And then Rick apologizes to Michonne about going off and killing everyone, and she says, you don't have to be. And then Rick begins to read Carl's letter. No, no, no! We do not get to apologize to Michonne, and Michonne gets to say it's okay. Just because you said you're sorry. Portrait of a Serial Killer, Henry, he might think, oh, I'm sorry, gets to wipe away death, but not Rick Grimes. That doesn't happen that way. You went and you slaughtered a bunch of people that repented their ways, that could have bettered the community somehow. Jared is the only one that needed to go. How is this show possibly getting more topsy-turvy than it is already? I don't understand. I don't care about the heroes anymore. I don't care about Daryl, Rosita, Aaron, Enid. Why am I even saying that woman's name? Meanie Maggie and her permapuss. I don't care about her. King Ezekiel. Portrait of a Serial Killer, Henry. That kid. Sadiq. I don't care about him. Tara. Don't care. How about the soft and vulnerable Michonne, who apparently isn't doing anything on the show anymore? Or the latest villain of the show named Rick Grimes. But who do I care about now? Oddly enough, I care about Negan more. He's not the cartoony villain that he was in the beginning. My goodness, they gave him character development. Who else do I care about? Carol? Simon? Dwight? Morgan? Jerry? Jesus. That wasn't an expletive. I care about the character Jesus as well. We only have 2 episodes left by the end of the season, and we are told that all-out war is supposed to end by the end of the season. When is the war? This is not an all-out war. It's all-out skirmishes that are laid throughout. You know, filler episodes. Now, there is no doubt in my mind whatsoever that the person that Negan picked up is Laura. Laura. For those that don't even remember what she looked like. Okay? She's the one that knows that Dwight basically upended the Saviors. Put them out to pasture. Led them up to slaughter. Whatever else you want to say. He turned turncoat. Okay? And I got news for you. Alright? Simon disobeying Negan's orders by slaughtering everybody? That is chump change compared to completely letting the slaughter of Saviors go by. So yeah. I'm going to say that maybe Dwight might be a little bit on the hit list more than Simon, but I do think that Negan is going to take out both of them. He's going to find out some kind of way when it's all said and done, because Simon obviously is a threat to the leadership of Negan at this point in time. I just don't know how it's supposed to end. I'm starting to think that this all-out war is going to spill into the next season. So do you agree with me or disagree with me? Go ahead and leave a comment down below. And remember, like, share, subscribe, plus hit that bell icon so you get notified the moment I upload. And I will see you